Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Happy Tuesday. And today, Tuesday, we talk about some combat swimmer stroke as well as I realized yesterday was my workout review day and I didn't discuss what we were doing. So I'm going to start the show as people move to join us with what we're doing this week. So we started yesterday with a leg day. Nothing fancy. Though we did run a little bit more than we normally do, mainly because it's a nice day. It's after daylight savings time has ended, so 6 o'clock feels like 7 o'clock, so it's a little brighter. So we actually we warmed up with some running and some calisthenics, and then we lifted deadlifts, a lot of kettlebell work, farmer walks, lunges, just worked the legs pretty well. Um, I would say it was more a muscle stamina lift than it was a heavy lift, though we did get into some moderately heavy deadlifts, maybe 1.5 body weights for body weight for five. Um, so that was yesterday, along with a swim with fins, and then today was upper body day, where we um, brought out the bench, weight vests for pull-ups, some dumbbells, and got after it. Warmed up with some calisthenics. Only a few miles of running today. I think we ran a total of 3 miles, but yesterday we ran 5 and swam, and then today we swam right after the. Some guys are going to swim at lunch, but swim right after the workout, mainly doing a 50-50, 1500 swim workout. If you don't know what the 50-50 is, it is a classic. Once you've learned your technique, you should start doing the 50-50 workout. And the 50-50 workout is simply 50 freestyle followed by 50 CSS, and you try to catch your breath with the CSS. If you need to rest a little bit before the next set, that's fine, but the goal is to reduce your resting sets. And if you do 10 sets of that, that's 1,000 yards. You can warm up and cool down with a 500, get a total of 1,500 yards. And I promise you that workout will prepare you for any 500-yard swim you will be doing, whether it's freestyle, CSS, or whatever. So I will say, if it's a recon test, when you're swimming with camis, whole different story. You need to practice swimming with camis. The last thing you want to do is swim with camis and um, let it be your first time during the test, because it is a very rude awakening when you cannot glide after every stroke and it's just you're muscling through the water pretty much. And then tomorrow's mobility day, classic. Always good to have mobility day, middle of the week. um, Thursday will be another leg day. However, we will be at the beach on Thursday and running soft sand on top of rucking, as well as lifting some weights afterwards, then swimming with fins afterwards. So it is what I would call the Spec Ops leg day. Run, swim, ruck with fin, swim with fins, run, swim, ruck, some kettlebells and fireman carries, stuff like that in the parking lot afterwards. Friday is kind of a cardio core day. So we're going to be at the track where we do quarter miles, 800s, mile repeats, probably total about 4 or 5 miles, mixed in with some sit ups, flutter kicks. And then Saturday is a good upper body day where we are crushing the just a big upper body lift, basically, with some calisthenics warm up. So that's our week this week. And if you notice, the fall, like our fall transition series, fall, it's about 50% weights, 50% calisthenics. Though you do have some cardio maintenance in there, though you're not running as much as you were in the summer, but you're running faster and shorter than you were in the summer. Just perfect for like really crushing mile and a half runs. A lot of guys are getting faster now in the fall than they were in the summer. Just the way it works. I heard the Navy bumped the max age for enlistment for Spec War. I have not heard that. In fact, let's do this. Let's play a game. Go to sealswick.com and let's see if they've updated it on their website. Until I see it on this website, let's see. Don't see age limit here. Got PT limit. Age 17 to 28. SWIC 17 to 30. No later than your 29th birthday. So here, I'll share this with you. A lot of people hear things, but they may not actually be official. So maybe they're thinking about it. I don't know. You guys see this? Between 17 and 28. And let me tell you, don't be in a rush to join at 17, 18 years old. Look at that window you have. That is a huge 11-year window, right? There's no rush to get there as a teenager. Most teenagers aren't even finished growing yet, and trying to do a man's job, and they're still boys. All right, let's see. Hey, Stu, good morning. This is an open-ended question on how different is the day-to-day life for JO officers and enlisted SEALs in the teams. How similar, different is it overall? I could go on with this one, but a lot of times they're pretty similar. I mean, the workload is going to be very similar because they're doing the same job, meaning they're same mission planning and all of that stuff, or they're part of a team. One may be a little more responsible for the overall outcome of that preparation and training and execution of that mission, but everybody's got their duties, so everybody's busy doing something. It's like it's kind of like asking the difference between a quarterback and a lineman. When they go to practice, they're doing different things, but it's the same mission of moving that ball down the field. So don't get too caught up in the day-to-day life, similar, different overall. It's similar, it's different, but at the same time, it's the same mission. So that's my short answer to that one. Could you talk a little more on day-to-day life in the teams? I listened to your podcast with Jeff, which was helpful, but seeing more about having healthy relationships many days you're gone. Um, uh, Look, man, you're always preparing for the next training evolution, right? Or you're on the next training evolution. And then you're preparing yourself to be able to deploy. There's certain wickets you have to go through and collect along your pre-deployment training that says, okay, you have checked off all the boxes and you are qualified to deploy as a unit. That's really what it's mostly about. Yeah, you're going to have easy days where you should go to work, you work out, and you get off at noon, but those days are limited. Um, but you're also going to have long days and nights and training at night, and very often you might be not on deployment or on a trip, but your hours are such that you are still training very long. Might be a night job. Some, I mean, I think for months we were hitting night dives, in a particular dive phase. So we didn't work days, but we worked nights. So we were on a night shift. So it's going to vary depending on what training cycle you are in. You might be doing desert warfare, urban warfare, cold, depending on where you're deploying, snow, you know, desert, water, diving, so amphibious stuff, from the over the beach, all of those things require you to get proficient in doing. And a lot of it depends on the types of places where you'll be deploying, as well as mission sets that are possible when you deploy. As for SOAS, what event typically gives the most guys trouble? For your guys who are heading there, what do you really stress in terms of preparation? Um, it's a variety for everything. Um, you're going to take a PST, so you have to be able to crush the PST. Whatever you submitted in your application, you should strive to be better than that when you get there. So you'll have to take a PST in order to get selected to SOAS, like in January or February. Then over the summer, you'll go to SOAS and you'll take another one, and you should be better. You have 4 or 5 months to improve that. Your 4-mile timed run, your mile swim with fins. You're going to be boats and logs. You're going to be bear crawling a lot, fireman carrying, um, lunging. So get good at all of those. Treading, that's a big one too. So everybody has their strengths and weakness. So I can't say anyone had an issue with one particular thing. Everybody was all over the map with, I should have bear crawled more. I should have done more treading, because it was more of a gut check for them. They passed, but it was just they weren't front of the pack, and um, they didn't feel 100% comfortable with it because they were fairly new to it. So there's things like that that you want to try to alleviate during your preparation, that you don't get um, hit with something that you're not prepared for. Sure, during the fall seasonal training program, you make any progression in muscle stamina exercises or strength agility, or is it just a transition period to the winter? No, it is actually a progression to lifting heavier, doing less reps, running fewer miles. So think of it as the opposite of the spring, where you are adding more calisthenics, progressing your running mileage into the summer from the spring, dropping the weights. You're still weightlifting, but it's getting less and less from the winter heavier lifting. And the fall is just a transition into lifting more. So right now it's about a 50-50 split of calisthenics and cardio. But compared to the summer, that's a whole lot more lifting than we did in the summer. So it is decreased, but we're running a lot less. I'd say we're probably right now at about close to 50% of what we ran in the summer, probably somewhere between 15 and 20 miles right now. Though some guys are picking up and still doing 20, 25, but we're no longer doing 30 plus. So that's the transition part. You're transitioning out of high calisthenics and cardio mileage, and you're transitioning into fewer calisthenics, weighted calisthenics, more weights, and fewer miles of running. What do you think about starting strength? Um, I haven't read into that one very much. I will look into it. Morning, Stu. Watch Two Through and After with Chad Williams. It was so good. I watched it again with my wife. She bought his book while we were watching. Huh. Gut punch when he talks about Scott Helvison. Yeah, that was a tough one. Yeah, he had a good mentor there. When do you usually start and end your Q&A morning videos? 9 a.m. start, 10 a.m. finish, Monday and Tuesday. All right, let's do this. Let me pull up a swim video, since it is swim video time. and see what we got here. Oh, it looks like we got a swim with fins. So let me share my screen here. See what this looks like. So if you notice, anytime you swimming with fins in a pool, I recommend kicking off the wall, getting in some dolphin kicks. He's got a good streamline position. He stays on. Notice how he stays on his side too. He's got decent kicks. You probably open up these kicks a little more. Like he's doing little flutter kicks. I personally like to do a little bit bigger flutter kicks, not quite a scissor kick, but just a little bit bigger flutter kicks. I can tell he's kind of used to, oh, he's throwing in a dolphin kick now. That's okay too. I'm not that much of a fan of the dolphin kick, but if you notice, he just did a 50 in about 42 seconds. So that's really good pace. I mean, that's a 7 minute, probably with turnarounds, he probably get like a 7:30, 500, 15 minute to 16-minute 1,000 is not out of the question with this pace. So can't argue with the results. I will say this: if he's fighting some currents, he may need to have a little bit bigger flutter kicks in order to fight those currents. However, if you're streamlined like this, he's got a good streamline. That dolphin kick does seem to be working for him pretty well. I don't really use it that much. So let's tell you what, let's do another one. I think I have a few that are um, with fins and a few that are without fins. Let's see what we got here. How does the officer route work for Army? Is it a direct path or is it, you got to be, it's a long path. There's no direct path for the Army officer in SF. You got to go through probably your infantry officer school. They'll probably send you to Ranger school just to, because it's a leadership course. You'll do that and then do your office infantry officer tour. Then you are eligible usually by O2 into O3 level um, ranking. So 2 years in, 2.5 years in, you're eligible to go to SFAS. So that's the path, and you won't stay there forever. You'll go back to doing more conventional um, Army job as a leadership position when you become a major or whatever. But if you do it well and they like you, you can probably come back and be like a more senior officer at the Army officer route, SF route. So good question. All right, let me do another share. Do some swim videos here. So this is a CSS 50, I think, without fins. So good. So good kick off the wall. Good streamline. Good double arm pull. That's good. Coming up past these markers here. Let's see what we got here. We got a top arm, bottom arm. I think that bottom arm's a little too big. I think a lot of people tend to sweep that bottom arm too much. And if you notice, he's looking backwards whenever he is swimming. I don't recommend that. I think that bottom arm over rotates you. So you tend to um, almost lose a little bit momentum and look backwards. See, I'm positioned behind him. And if I were to wave at him right now, he would see me looking right at me. So what I recommend is go about 90 degrees or maybe even 35, 45 degrees out in front of you versus um, looking behind you. Just going to be helpful for you too, knowing where you are versus looking backwards. Yeah, it's a bottom arm's too big. Using that bottom, I tend to use a bottom arm more like a breaststroke versus taking it all the way down to my hips. And if you notice, it throws off his timing on his recovery. Like he's kind of stuck right here for a second, whereas if he shortened that bottom arm, he'd be bringing that top arm up now and they'd be meeting in the middle to do a quicker recovery cycle and glide cycle. It just speeds up your glide time. So hope that made sense to you. Let's see. Any tips for saving energy during freestyle swim because you can't glide that much? It's use your arms more than your legs. Like I was actually having this training yesterday with some guys who were just power boating their feet, right? Going through it. They were exhausted after 25 yards, but they had really good arm pulls, good turn to breathe. So I was like, you know what? Let's do this one without kicking. And it was funny because they were only about 2 seconds slower than with all those flutter kicks than they were without all the flutter kicks and not even winded. So if put it this way, if you want to test out how winded swimming with a lot of extra flutter kicks makes you, kick off the wall and get in a glide position like you normally kick off the wall. Don't use your arms and just flutter kick across the pool as far as you can and see how far you get before you need to come up to breathe. Chances are, if you're new to swimming, you're not very good at flutter kicking. Most people aren't when they're learning the stroke unless they came from a swimming background. You will not get all the way across a 25-yard pool, maybe even 50% of it. And then notice how much your heart rate's beating. So place all those extra flutter kicks into the CSS, you're just wasting energy. Yep. All right. While swimming with CSS with fins, do you swim use the same technique as if you didn't have fins? Kind of. No. Um, your main unit of propulsion with fins is your feet and your fins. So you're going to be constantly flutter kicking with fins on at a slower rate than you would freestyle, obviously, because you got those big fins on. And then you just use your arms when you need to breathe. So usually it's about 3 kicks, pull your arms to breathe. 3 kicks, pull your arms to breathe. So in fact, let's do that. Let's see. I know we have another swim with fin video in here. Let's see what we got. That's not it. Oh man, I thought I had. Oh, yep. Here we got one here. Here we go. All right, let's see. Kicks off the wall. Now I will say this: he probably has little slip-on fins, which are really easy. Yeah, he's got good flutter kicking going on. Notice he's on his side too, so he can just constantly flutter kick, holds that glide. Whenever he needs to breathe, he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe. So yeah, it's up to you. 3 to 4 breaths, 3 to 4 kicks per breath. But it doesn't really matter. You don't have to get in a perfect 1, 2, 3, breathe. 1, 2, 3, breathe. Yeah, so I'm just counting every time his top leg goes forward, how many kicks he's doing. No, that's good. That's smooth. And notice he's not popping up too much whenever he comes up to breathe. He's just kind of turning to breathe. Yeah, that's really smooth. And he's constantly flutter kicking. Now you can do a scissor kick with little flutter kicks in the middle. I tend to have a strategy when I swim with fins, right? And my strategy swimming with fins in open water looks like this. If I'm swimming with a current, and very often you are, if you're swimming parallel to the shore, there's probably going to be a current going one way, right? So if you're going one way with the current, I like to do a big scissor kick and kind of just hold the glide, right? While I'm going with the current. Saves a lot of energy and you're moving anyway without a lot of effort. So why waste a lot of effort doing that? You can throw in some little flutter kicks if you want to, but I just tend to hold the glide with the current. However, coming back, you can't do that. You're probably going to go nowhere if you do. So coming back, you got to motorboat it, like constant little flutter kicks all the way across the pool or across the mile stretch or however you're swimming, because you have to fight through those currents. And those big rocket fins and jet fins, that's what they're used for. They're for power and powering through those kind of tides and currents. So I want to go back to something here, make an announcement. So Tom was mentioning I have a podcast called the Tactical Fitness Report, but inside the Tactical Fitness Report, there's also a segment called To, Through, and After, where I interview people who have various jobs. Many of them are former Spec Ops guys. Some of them are, you know, SF guys, recon. I think I've done some PJs, done all types. Depending on what their job is. And just discuss their journey, how they get to, how they get through, and what are they doing after, their training, right? So after their military service. And it's pretty fun. Now you can get these, by the way, on Audible. So if you like to listen to the audios versus tuning in on YouTube, because I have all of them on YouTube as well, but you can find the Tactical Fitness Report on Audible now. So it's a real clean way to just download these things for free, and watch some or listen to some pretty good topics on Tactical Fitness Report. Do you have any? Do you have to do an underwater wall kick off the pool wall while taking your 500 PST test, or can you touch the wall with your hand out of the water, then push off? There's no real rule for that. Um, yeah, a lot of people actually grab the side and kick off before they turn around. Some people push the wall underwater, but it's not as technical as a open turn in competitive swimming, right? In competitive swimming, you got to touch both hands, to the wall. Whereas this one, if you're stroking and you end right here, you just grab that open turn and go. You only have to touch one hand to the wall. But no, it doesn't have to be underwater at all. There's really no big rule for that, other than you can't do a flip turn. Not sure why, just can't do flip turns. It's a rule. Never questioned it. Uh, just thought you can't have limbs come out of the water during the test. No, you can. Just on the turnaround. I mean, you don't want to do like an overhand reach like you're doing a freestyle recovery turnaround. But I mean, your hand can come out of the water touching the wall. If it touches high on the wall outside the water, no one cares. Good question, though. If you know anything about swimming, you will, especially competitive swimming, there's a lot that you don't have to apply to the Navy fitness test, like you would in competitive swimming, especially like the two-hand open turn. It can be a one-hand open turn. It doesn't really matter if your hand's above water or underwater, but you can't do flip turns. All right, let's do another one. I got another video around here somewhere. Hang on a second. I think I showed that one already. Dang it. Hang on, give me a second. Got to pull one up. Let's see. All right, we'll do this one. All right, give me a sec. Share my screen. All right, you guys should be able to see that now. Yep. All right. So let's back this up. Look at his kick off the wall. Yep. Good. Streamline body position. Double arm pull. Looks good. Comes up with that yellow marker. top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide, top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Now it looks like it's part scissor kick, part breaststroke kick. Though I will say it's not horrible. Now he did that in like 23, 24 seconds. But notice his like there's a little breaststroke kick there, top arm, bottom arm. Yeah, like you could notice when he kicks his back leg, it looks like he tries to start off with a scissor kick and it turns into a breaststroke kick. I will say this though. I mean, he's at 48 seconds. I don't have a whole lot on that. I think he could have a stronger kick if he makes a choice to do a breaststroke kick or a scissor kick. And you can see here, it looks like he starts off with a scissor kick and it turns into a breaststroke kick. But what's helping him is his body position and his streamline over his head. That is going to help you more than anything whenever you are kicking and trying to glide. Yeah, you can see his kick's a little weak, but his streamline's allowing it to actually work for him. Yeah, I need to work on his kick a little. All right, so in your program, when it says do bicep military, DB bicep military, what do I mean? Well, think about it. It's a bicep curl into a military press. So what you do is you do a bicep curl, overhead press, bicep curl, overhead press. So it's 2 exercises in one. That's all. Nothing that complicated. So it's very similar to you guys remember the multi-joint dumbbell exercise where you do a bicep overhead tricep, or you add a squat to it. It's a squat, bicep overhead, tricep. I took out the tricep extension in this just so I could get heavier on the bicep overhead press. So that's all it is. It's just another version of the multi-joint dumbbell exercise. I think I've shown 4 swims today. Might have a 5th that was submitted. Let's see what this is. You guys see this? You guys can't see this, can you? All right, so let me share my screen. I'll do another. All right. So let me know you guys can see this, right? All right, what do we have going on here? There's a lot going on here. Let me see if we can break it down for them. So this is just okay. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, top arm, bottom arm, kick. So he's got no glide and his arms coming out of the water. He's popping his head up to breathe. There's a lot going wrong here. In fact, the cadence of the stroke is pull, breathe, kick, glide. Remember that. So let's see if he's doing it. Pull, breathe, kick, and glide. Really, if you break it down to that basic, he's just not gliding. But there's a lot of stuff that's not working well for him. Like he's got a very weak breaststroke kick, not going very far. Streamlined body position's not very good. Is popping his head up way too much to come up to breathe. Like you can see every time he pops his head up, that in fact you can see it here really well. Like he's going horizontal and then he goes vertical. And he quits moving horizontal when he goes vertical. So yeah, there's a lot to break down here that is not quite the CSS. You definitely want to clean that up. In fact, what I would suggest whoever sent this to me, would be to watch you swim and then watch any of these other guys swim. Especially if you go to my TikTok page down here, tiktok.com, StuSmith50, click on one of the perfect swims. You know, don't forget, guys, there's a TikTok page that's got nothing but CSS critiques on it. It's just a very easy platform to be able to do voiceover critiques on, and it just saves me so much time. So um, I like it. I like that app for that. But you don't have to download the app if you don't like Chinese apps. You can just go to the webpage, tiktok.com/ at StuSmith50, and watch hundreds of CSS critiques and compare yours to it. Let's see. Robbie asked for training for the IFT for the 15th. I'm prepared for it, but I don't want to overwork myself before the test. What should I be doing leading up to it? If your test is on the 15th, that means it is the 8th now. So you got a whole week. So you can still get a normal week of workouts in this week. You don't have to taper a whole week. In fact, I don't recommend it. Do your normal workout 9th, 10th, 11th, maybe even the 12th. But on Sunday, rest, and Monday, do some basic technique stuff, treading water. Do some mobility days, a really good option for you, where you just do 5 minutes of easy cardio, 5 minutes of stretching. If you feel like you're burned out, make sure tomorrow or somewhere in the middle of this week you do a mobility day too. So take a couple of recovery days in there, a day off, and then make sure you hydrate, sleep well all week, eat well, and that's all you need to do. But I wouldn't take a week off prior to a test. That's just like wasting time training. And what you need to do is consider this. Don't let a fitness test ruin a week of training or even a few days of training. Eventually, you're going to be able to crush that IFT so much. And I've had guys do this numerous times where they come do a 2-hour workout with me, and then at from like 6 to 8, and then at 10 o'clock they have a PST they have to do. Right now they've passed it all, they've gotten their contract, but they're in the mindset of like, not going to let a PST ruin my workout, and they don't. We probably ran 5 miles that day with hills and squats and lunges, and he still went and crushed the PST. So that's kind of level you need to be in, to where your first few, when you're trying to pass them, yeah, take a day off before, a couple mobility days even, to loosen up prior to that week, just to give yourself some recovery time. But once you're crushing it, even on a bad day, you should be able to pass that thing. Sorry if my questions are a bit off topic. So I know that I shouldn't see a recruiter till I'm in shape. But if I plan to go Army officer, then SF, would it be reasonable to start? I mean, why do you want to go talk to a recruiter while you're out of shape? Period. You know, that'd be like showing up to a job interview and, I don't know, not dressing up. I just don't understand it. I mean, you don't have to be in perfect spec forces shape because you have a 2.5 year time to train. The neat thing about the Army, as well as the Marine Corps, for its officers especially, and for the Marine Corps, anybody, pretty much, is you have a logical progression to get to special forces, right? There's nothing in the Navy or the Air Force that prepares you for buds. Like, you can't join the Navy and be on a ship for 2 years and be ready for buds. You can't, or be on air squadron or whatever. I mean, you may be able to go to dive school and be that's close to being prepared for buds, but there's nothing that prepares you for special warfare in the Air Force and the Navy physically. Whereas there's some logical progressions in the Army and the Marine Corps. So yeah, you don't need to be in great shape, but you should be, just to get through Army officer school. And infantry officer course is no joke. I mean, you're going to be rucking your ass off. So you should be at least strong enough to ruck. Talk about sacrificing sleep for training. Would it be worth to sleep 5 to 6 hours a night during basic training to train at 4:10 to 5:30 and swim in the evening and then sleep 9-hour weekends? That's not bad. I mean, the cool thing about being a teenager in early 20s is that when you're training for these jobs, you know, you probably don't need a whole lot of sleep to recover. If you're getting older, you definitely need to watch your sleep time. I mean, no matter what age you are, though, sleep is our number one recovery tool. So if you're feeling like you're dragging ass one week, you know, sleep. I actually, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the daylight savings time going on or whatever, but uh, been crushing workouts lately too, so that could be it as well. But I went to bed last night at 7:30 and woke up at 5:30 today. So this was that 10 hours of sleep. So my wife tells me I'm overtraining, which she's probably not wrong. But I was just dragging ass. I think I'm more under recovering than I am overtraining. But when you're my age, all of that has to be perfect balance. Your sleep, your nutrition, your workouts and your recovery time have to be majorly perfect. Otherwise, you can have overtraining symptoms by just simply under recovering and not sleeping well and not eating well, not hydrating, all those things. But yeah, there's no real right answer to that one. That's not a bad plan. I've done that one myself. The process before I'm in SF level shape, but in shape below 40-minute 5 mile. Yeah, since I won't be able to go to selection for a while. Yeah, you're definitely going to want to be below 40-minute 5 miler because you will go to ranger school and you should be rucking as well. My advice is ruck on every leg day. Get good at your 5 mile timed run, your 2 mile timed run. So just be able to at least pass fitness tests at a good above average level. You know, Going to a recruiter and not being able to pass a fitness test, you're not going to be a good candidate in their eyes, and you won't get selected to be an officer in the Army. So that's what I mean when I mean by showing up in shape, right? You got to at least be able to pass the entry level programming. And if you're considering SF or an officer slot, you definitely want to be in a more competitive performance range than just passing with the minimum standards. While using your fall winter program, kind of sprinkle some PST tests in there. Yeah, there may be a couple in there already, depending on which one you have. But my suggestion would be to, if you want to add in a PST, add it in either on a Monday when you've recovered from the weekend, or add it in on a Wednesday, or I'm sorry, after mobility day. So on a Thursday. I think every day in most of these, it's like for instance here, week 3, mobility day on day 3, and then I have a run ruck swim on day 4. So it's 3 mile run, 3 mile ruck, um, and a swim with treading and with fins. Um, so what you could do is just add a PST in before that, count the 1.5 miles as 1.5 miles of your run, then do your ruck, then do your swim with fins afterwards. That'd be a great way to add it in there if you wanted to add it in there. But yeah, PST a month's not a bad deal. I typically throw in PSTs in my programming, just because it's one of my favorites. And whether or not I actually say it's a PST or an IFT, sometimes I'll just say do your fitness test because there's a lot of people that are doing the Army fitness test or Marine Corps fitness test that are doing these programs. So, um, yeah. But if you want to add it in there, that's the way I would do it after a mobility day or on a Monday. If you add it in on a Saturday, you're usually pretty burned out by then. But there's nothing wrong with doing it on Saturday. Just may not be optimal. You told me you and your guys start winter cycle around Christmas. It's awesome. Since I can finish this winter lift cycle exact same time and then hop on with you guys for another cycle, I need one more. Um, yeah, I mean, look at the seasons. I mean, there's a like it's marked on my calendar, right? I mean, October 21st was the first day of fall. I look at my desktop calendar. I'm kind of old school like that. Winter begins December 21st, shortest day of the year. So, usually around Christmas, we are starting the official winter lift cycle. Over the years, we have started earlier, just depending on like some guys are just kind of burned out from the running. So they, drop it a notch again and we get into the lifts. For me, when I have a group of people I'm training, a lot of times I have to adjust our schedule depending on the needs of the group. But if we have different variety of needs, then I have to adjust the workouts for those individuals because some people don't need to lift, they need to do more running or do more cardio or do more calisthenics because they're 250-pound football players that are strong enough already. Whereas the 150-pound cross country kid needs to put on some mass, get a little stronger. So really kind of depends on you where you need to go. Sir, the signs of under recovery are the same as overtraining. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, let me see if I can share these with you because this is one of my favorite um, things to discuss. And you'll see it. It is almost identical. You could also put it up there with overstressed. Let me see if I can find that. If I can't, I'm going to Google it because I have a great, what do you call it? Uh, Graphic that'll show you. Oh, here it is. Perfect. All right, so check this out. So these are symptoms of overtraining, right? But they're also symptoms of under recovering, right? It's just the same thing. It's just another way to say overtraining. So underperformance, that's usually your biggest one where you're just constantly having bad days. You're seeing negative results on your calisthenics, you're running slower, you're swimming slower, you're just constantly sore. Um, and you can't even finish your workouts because you're just that tired. Um, Physiological, sometimes you have weight loss, even get sick, so swollen lymph glands. Um, you can read these. I don't have to go through all of them. There's a whole bunch of them here. Um, Something that is a really neat test is when you're feeling really good, um, do a grip test, right? Actually, there's a grip measuring device. In fact, the one I like is this one, grip measuring tool. Um, there's a couple of ones in here, but anyway, it's a dynamometer. You can go on Amazon and pick them out. I'll show it to you in a second. But just by measuring your grip, um, is an indication that you are overtraining if you have a weaker than normal grip. Um, Another one is, have you guys ever done the functional movement screener before, where you got to stretch with your arms over your head, you got to do a squat, arms overhead, pick yourself over a bar. There's a couple other different exercises. If you fail those, if you're losing your balance a lot, those are also indicators of overtraining or under recovering. So another one, real easy too, is in the morning when you wake up before you get out of bed, take your heart rate and just see what your heart rate is. If it's elevated more than normal, like it should be, if you're a pretty good athlete, should be in the 50s, maybe even 40s, for most of us. And if it's in the 60s or 70s when you first wake up, probably overtraining. Or you had a bad dream and adrenaline's pumping through your body too. So it could be that. But yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff in here that um, can definitely trigger um, a potential definition of overtraining or under recovering. But these are the grip things I was talking about. Dynamometers. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Camry has one. $29. Just measure your grip. So there's a whole bunch of them that you could pick out there. Thanks, Seth. Glad you like them. So, all right, we shown a lot of videos today. Shared my screen quite a bit. If there's no more questions, I'm going to close this one down with, first of all, thanks for watching. If I missed anything, email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Check out stewsmithfitness.com. There's an article section there that has about 1,000 articles on it that you can search through and see what you're looking for. Good feedback in there, good information in there as well. There's a lot of videos in there as well. But there's plenty of books and ebooks, coaching options in there for you on Stu Smith Fitness as well. So, all right. Nice work, folks. I will see you next week. So, you guys have a good one.